So the banking sector is really seeing a boost today, as it has seen a boost for most of the week. Now the earnings have been kind of mixed, and we're going to go through those one at a time today. So thanks for stopping by, everyone. My name is Jeff. So what we're going to talk about today is that all the big banks are reporting earnings this week. Guys, like I've said many times before, whatever direction the economy and the stock market is going to go, banking is going to lead the way. If you walk away from earnings season and the feeling is that banking is very overvalued, you can almost expect the market to tank off for a while. But if there's proof that the banking industry is heavily undervalued, like I said, you can expect the stock market to start going back up, and I feel as though it leans towards the latter. So we're going to just go in order. Like I said, I'm not going to get every single bank. I'm going to get the major ones, and then there is a couple more to come this week. We will handle that at the end of the video. So things got kicked off on Monday with Citigroup, and Citigroup beat by 6 cents, but they missed on revenue by $440 million, which initially tanked the stock a little bit, but now it has recovered quite well. But Citigroup did disappoint on revenue, okay? $440 million is a pretty big miss, but they did have a beat on the top end. And then yesterday, guys, the biggest bank out there, JP Chase, they missed by 23 cents, and then they missed by $100 million. But their expected revenue was $26.8 billion. So when you look at it on that kind of a scale, it's actually not that big of a miss. And the shares have actually run up. Of course, that's one of our biggest holdings in my M1 Finance portfolio, and that position has actually recovered quite nicely since they reported earnings. So it's interesting that banks, two of the biggest banks that we've already talked about, guys, they've missed on revenue, but both of the stocks are trending upward right now. Now, I would say this, Wells Fargo is probably the biggest miss out there so far right now, guys. They missed by 1 cent on the top line, but they missed by $770 million on revenue, okay? In my opinion, probably the most disappointing set of earnings we've got so far. Of course, we would all like to see the big banks produce a lot better revenue numbers than that. And honestly, when this report come out yesterday, I thought this was going to tank the markets. Because Wells Fargo is weighted so heavily on the indexes. Of course, Wells Fargo is a $230 billion company. So up until yesterday, not really the best earnings season for banks so far. But today, it got really, really good, guys. So Bank of America come in there, guys, beat by 7 cents. Then they beat on revenue by $390 million. And last time I checked, Bank of America was up almost 8%. And they are just running off the charts right now. So this really lifted the markets back up. I think this is where we get in, between Bank of America, US Bancorp, and Goldman Sachs today. I think that is really keeping the markets lifted up nicely. So this was a great earnings report from Bank of America. Of course, US Bancorp come in there. They had a good earnings report, beating by 4 cents and beating by $90 million on revenue. Of course, this isn't one of the biggest banks, but it was a very good report. Like I said, I think helped kind of push the markets up a little bit, kind of spread the bullish sentiment back out through Wall Street. And then this one was by far, in my mind, the one that stood out the most. So Goldman Sachs beat by $1.74 on the top line, and they beat on revenue by $580 million. So that is outstanding. That is a nice little bit of punctuation. Like I said, as a couple of banks that started off kind of early as Citigroup and JP Morgan and Wells Fargo were a little bit on the disappointing side, Goldman Sachs comes in there and blows the top off. I was really happy to see all three of these banks report good this morning. And like I said, the markets are trending upward as a result of this. So this is very good right here that we had 3 good reports today. And then, of course, guys, like I said, I did not cover every single bank that's reporting earnings. I just got the biggest ones. Of course, tomorrow, Morgan Stanley will be reporting first thing in the morning, and that will kind of round out most of the big banks. Like I said, there might be a few here I missed, like a Citizens or some of the regional banks and some of that type of thing. But as far as the absolute biggest banks that our economy relies on the most, Morgan Stanley is going to report earnings tomorrow. So I will be looking forward to that. And let's hope for a big beat by Morgan Stanley. And of course, here is some of the price movement that we're getting today, guys. So I got most of these banks listed down through here. XLF, that is an ETF that I invest in my Robinhood account. It is performing very, very well today. You know, their biggest holdings are JP Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, etc. And they're up about 2% today, performing really, really well. You know, Morgan Stanley's up 4%, Goldman Sachs up 8% on that huge blowout quarter. Job well done, Goldman Sachs. You know, US Bank Corp is up 2.3%. Bank of America is up 7.25%. Wells Fargo running up 2.83%. JP Chase up close to 1%. And Citigroup up about almost 2%. So it does seem that the earnings from today are really lifting up the bank sector as a whole, and that is a very, very positive thing for our economic situation right now, guys. Because like I said, we have to have strong banks. We have to have strong earnings from banks. You know, that is really the most important earnings and set of guidance that we can possibly get, even far more important than tech companies, okay? So far so good. We do have some mixed results. Like I said, Citigroup and JP Morgan and Wells Fargo did not have the best numbers, but I think the consensus feels they were strong enough, you know, to justify the economy, you know, trending upward right now. And that's all I got for today's video. You know, banking is not something we do talk a lot about on this channel, so go down to the comment section and tell me what your favorite bank to invest in is. And thanks for watching the video, everyone.